Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar Wednesday. Those of you that are familiar with the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority have probably seen webinar Wednesdays over the past couple of years. We took a hiatus for 12 months or so, and we decided to get them started again. My name is John Turner, and I work for NIFA, the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority. I'm the Partner and Program Development Manager. We also have another NIFA guest with us today who's going to be working kind of behind the scenes to answer your questions and review the chat as we go along, and that is Joe Spitzen. He is the Program and Education Coordinator. So thank you so much again for attending. We will record this webinar, and we will also have the PowerPoint presentations available, and we'll put those on our website and on YouTube. So we're really excited today to bring back a topic. This is actually the third in a series of webinars we've done about the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Today we have joining us folks from each of the different jurisdictions that receive funding from Treasury. We have Jeff Chambers, who's the project director for the University of Nebraska-Lincoln Center on Children, Families, and the Law. We have Jane Gordon, who's the program director for COPE, which is the Christian Outreach Program in Elkhorn. And we have Lisa Vukoff, the director of programs and compliance from the Metro Area Continuum of Care for the Homeless, otherwise known as MATCH. So I think what we'll do today is we'll kind of just go around so you can hear about what the status is of the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. And I'll start because the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority has been heavily involved in the balance of state rental assistance. So just, I'm assuming that a lot of people that are watching this today have a lot of knowledge about this program and have probably helped people apply and know it very well. But I think I'll just do a real quick background just for those that maybe are new to this. And so this all started with the federal coronavirus relief bill that was passed by Congress on December 21st, 2020. There was $900 billion in relief funding. $25 billion was for rental assistance. And Nebraska at the time received $200 million. And that was split amongst the different jurisdictions. I should have asked, everybody can see my screen, correct? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. Okay, and so those jurisdictions then, or the one that I'm going to talk about is the balance of state, which is rural or non-metro Nebraska. The other jurisdictions were Douglas County, Lancaster County, and the city of Lincoln, which worked adjunctly together. City of Omaha is the last. And so you'll hear from each of the jurisdictions today. And on the slide, you can see the website and contact information. So if you need to help people apply, I'm sure you probably have all those bookmarked and access them frequently. But there's all the links. And so let's start. To give you just a background, NIFA, the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority, we decided to reach out to the governor's office when we heard about this funding and asked how we could help. So the state of Nebraska's budget office and accounting office received the funds, and they contracted with a company by the name of Deloitte. And Deloitte created the online portal that coronavirus.nebraska.gov that everyone has come to know very well over the last, over 12 months. What NIFA is doing is the outreach and marketing, and then really filling in gaps. So we've kind of become, I guess you could say, the face of the program. And if people apply and have questions, case managers, legal aid, different programs will reach out to us, and then we will work directly with Deloitte to help answer those questions and help people understand the program. So the biggest news today that I wanted to share about balance of state is that the program is coming to an end at the end of September of this year. And I know that's kind of a harsh reality that we have to face, but this is unique to Nebraska because you'll hear from the other jurisdictions that will have some funding that will go beyond that date. For the balance of state, it'll end September 30th, and the applications are going to be accepted up through September 9th. By doing that, you can ask for arrears through August of 22, and you can ask for 3 forward months through December of this year. So I can go into a little bit more detail on the next slide, but at least that gives people the opportunity to get an application in as soon as possible and ask for those arrears. But if you aren't applying until September, you can ask for those additional 3 months, trying to get as much out of this program as we can. What does rental assistance, what does it cover? Many of you probably know this, but it covers past due rent and future payments, as I just mentioned. And so it may not exceed 12 months and a total of 15 months altogether. So there are some people that probably have maxed out that. For the state program, they capped it at $20,000. And I know that since the program began, it was in I believe it was in February of 21. There have been some households that have exceeded that. And so sometimes we'll hear from those folks and try to direct them to other resources that might be available. And again, the payments made directly to the landlord. It also covers utility payments, which are electricity, gas, propane, water, sewer, and or trash removal. The payments go directly to utility providers, and it doesn't cover cable or phone. But one of the changes happened over the years is we can help with internet costs, and I think that's unanimous across Nebraska for all the jurisdictions. One of the things that changed after the program started is they opened it up to include other assistance. And I guess I look at this as housing relocation dollars. So if you have someone who is currently homeless, living in a hotel or motel, or maybe we didn't get to them fast enough, then unfortunately they did get evicted, we can reimburse the tenant for hotel motel costs. So that just means the tenant has to save those receipts and then submit them in the online portal, and then the check will be mailed to them for that amount. Same with moving costs. If someone needs to hire a moving company, they keep those receipts and then they're reimbursed. The funding can also pay for security deposits, and those are paid directly to the landlord, or a utility deposit to the utility provider. And then again, those 3 forward months rent can help with that housing stabilization. Eligible households, again, it's under households that are under 80% of the area median income, and there are the HUD 2021 income limits. There's a link to this, so when we send this out or put this on our website, you can click on that. 1 or more individuals in the household is qualified for unemployment benefits or has experienced a reduction in the household income and incurred significant costs directly or indirectly related to the coronavirus outbreak. For the state program, they're not super picky about that. If you say you have a COVID impact, there's so many of us that have been impacted by COVID. I don't think it's hard to prove that these days. But I know as we get further and further away from when the pandemic was at its highest, some folks have asked some questions about how do I demonstrate COVID impact. But the state is pretty lenient when it comes to that. And then demonstrating that you're at risk of experiencing homelessness or some kind of housing instability, we do ask for a past due utility bill, rent notice, or eviction notice. Other considerations, applications must be submitted by September 9th, 2022. And like I said, people can ask for those 3 forward months. You have to ensure that the household receiving it is not receiving additional assistance from another program, which basically means if you receive a Section 8 or some kind of housing assistance, they will only pay the portion that the tenant is responsible for. And another thing about if you can document that you receive Section 8 or SNAP benefits or LIHEAP, that's a good way to verify that you are under the income guidelines. One of the complications of this program at the beginning is landlords said, hey, I applied, but the tenant hasn't applied. Why can I not get the funding? So that in this situation, landlords and tenants have to work together. The tenant is the one that we have to base the eligibility on. But it's best if a landlord participates, because then the money goes to the landlord. If the landlord refuses to participate, then the check goes to the tenant. So the program waits 10 days to do outreach with that landlord. But we highly encourage landlords to participate, and Joe and I make a lot of phone calls to landlords to explain the program and answer any questions that they might have about the process. But matching it to a landlord is the ideal situation. So the website again is coronavirus.nebraska.gov. If you go to that website, it'll have the links to the other jurisdiction as well. There is a call center that can help you. If somebody forgets their login information, they can help, or if there's some technical assistance that you need. So we do encourage people to call that. And the documentation needed is proof of income. And like I mentioned, if someone has SNAP or LIHEAP, that's kind of the golden ticket, and that will help prove that income. They usually ask for pay stubs that cover an 8-week time period, and past due utility bills. You got to have a current lease. I have seen situations where if someone doesn't have a lease, that then they might take utility bills for all the months you're asking, and then they'll reimburse you up to what the fair market rent is. And we've definitely seen some handwritten leases over the past year or so. Let me see the last one. So this is just what the slide or the front page of the website looks like. You can apply for assistance. You have to create an account. And I think, like I said, people have come to know this very well. You can call the call center if you do need help. And I wanted to give a shout out to all of the support services agencies across Nebraska that have gotten to know all of these programs and help people apply and work so closely with us. In fact, we've had situations where tenants need help applying or landlords need help applying, and case managers and navigators have really stepped up and helped. And so we really couldn't have done this without them. And I know that they're working tirelessly to get these resources to people. And another agency that's done the same as Legal Aid, they're working tirelessly to make sure people don't get evicted. And we probably speak with Legal Aid and navigators every day about this program. And I'm sure the other jurisdictions could say the same thing. We did create an email address, era@nifa.org. So navigators and legal aid agencies can use that to get information to us, or even tenants, if they're having a hard time uploading documents, they can send it to era@nifa.org, and we can help get those documents uploaded. So that's been a helpful thing. And so we, as I mentioned, we work with Deloitte, and they created a whole bunch of basically a press kit or a toolkit to help with marketing. So to help get these dollars out to the tenants in the next few months, they develop these marketing materials that are available to any of you if you want to put them on your social media pages, or if you want to do any sort of open houses or get the word out. And so this toolkit will be available, and I'm just sharing some examples of what they've created. And they're designed, for banners and quick posts. So, whoops, it was a little slow. This one, need help paying for rent and utilities, we're here to help. We can help pay utilities too. The deadlines, any of that stuff is available to those of you that need help. And again, that's the website to apply. And I also wanted to say, just to kind of keep your eyes open, but I think there's going to be some housing stabilization funding that'll be available. And stay tuned to NIFA for updates, or our Facebook page. I know that the state of Nebraska is working with Health and Human Services to look at doing some housing stabilization through the funding that we have. So that is the end of my presentation, and I think we'll take your questions at the end of all the presentations. So make sure and put those in the QA or the chat. And so now I'll kick it over to Jeff Chambers. Thank you. And we can see.
Thanks, John. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, great. Hello, everybody. Again, I'm Jeff Chambers with the University of Nebraska Lincoln Center on Children, Families, and the Law. And we have worked with the city of Lincoln and our local agencies and community foundations here in Lincoln to establish the Lincoln and Lancaster County Prevention Assistance Common Fund, otherwise known as LPAC. LPAC consists of, in addition to the ERA that John was just talking about, LPAC also administers multiple other funding streams, including the previously administered CARES dollars, Community Development Block Grant dollars for CV, Emergency Solutions Grants, ESG and ESG CV prevention pieces, the ERA-1, ERA-2, some local foundation dollar or Nebraska Children and Families Foundation dollars, and Lancaster County ERA 1 and 2. In addition, it's not on that screen, but Lincoln Community Foundation has also provided some dollars as part of LPAC. And LPAC is, as John was mentioning, we've got all these COVID dollars coming in for rental and utility assistance. And what we designed in Lincoln and Lancaster County was basically a one-stop shop where persons in need of rental assistance could make an application at many agencies across the community. And that application would then go through our HMIS system, which serves as the data backbone and the coordinated entry system. And no matter where a person applied, they would have access to all these different funding streams that are related to COVID need. And we could assign from a common fund the most appropriate, effective, and efficient funding stream that would solve their housing crisis. And it's worked fairly well. And we did this in part because we wanted to have a prevention system exiting the COVID pandemic that we could rely upon post-COVID dollars when our resources are going to be much more minimal. And we'll have to make some really hard decisions about funding for rental assistance that with the current resource-rich environment are not quite as critical. So that's what LPAC is. And we administer ERA-1 and we'll be administering ERA-2 for the city of Lincoln and Lancaster County through that system. This is the city website and the link there that you can go to make your application or have persons make application for all these different types of assistance, not just ERA assistance, but the multiple streams are available. Much like what John was going through, for ERA-1 specifically, you live in Lincoln or Lancaster County, you qualify based on unemployment or have experienced reduction in household income directly related to the pandemic for ERA-1, and you meet the income guidelines, which is basically 80% or below of AMI. The assistance available through ERA-1 can be used to pay for rent, past due rent, back through March of 2020, and then 3 months forward. And you can reapply after that additional 3 months assistance if the need is still there. Utilities are also available through ERA-1, electricity, gas, water, internet. So those are the assistance payments we can make. And just some summary of, and this is across LPAC, not just ERA-1, but ERA and ERA-1 is the primary, is the vast majority of this assistance. So since the beginning, the LPAC in Lincoln and Lancaster County has served 4,725 unique households. That's just over $32 million in assistance. The average payout per week has been around $514,000, and we've done that fairly efficiently with administrative costs of 3.3%. The graph there just shows the breakout of where these different funding streams that have made assistance and rent and utilities available. A little more data, 18% of the households that we've served over this have had zero income, 52% of households with income at 30% or less, and only 10% have had income above 50%, but below 80%. What we've been noticing recently over the past 6 months or so is that applications have been coming in with higher AMIs than previously. So more in the 50% and above category than we'd seen early on during our implementation of ERA 1. 89% of all the assistance we provided has been for rent, 8% for utilities, 36% of the head of households served have been households of color, a much higher percentage than the distribution within Lincoln and Lancaster County. And then 69% of head of households applying for assistance were female. So where we go from here. So as John mentioned, ERA 1 for all jurisdictions is ending this year. September for the original funds, but then for reallocated funds that Lincoln and Lancaster County received, I think Omaha and Douglas as well. Those funds we are able to go through December of 2022. But at that point, ERA 1 will end. For the city of Lincoln anyway, they and Lancaster County, they received just over 16 million combined for the Emergency Rental Assistance 2.0 program. And that program goes through September of 2025, potentially. Right now, the number I have on there is just for the city of Lincoln. I think the city of Lincoln has $7.5 million remaining in ERA 2 assistance at this point, and I think Lancaster County is just over $1 million. But the draft plans from the city and the county are to, once ERA 1 ends at the end of this year, is to really kind of revamp this entire process and look at making ERA 2 the program itself, a more specific homeless prevention and eviction prevention program. So very much targeting through the coordinated entry system and a common assessment, being able to try and determine more effectively who, but for this assistance, might end up homeless or in a severe housing crisis. And then also to continue the work that has occurred in Lincoln and Lancaster County within the eviction court, where persons that are on the docket for eviction or that present at the court during their eviction hearing are able to access ERA assistance directly, and landlords can be assured of a payment at eviction court, preventing evictions at that point. As John mentioned, the TAP program in Nebraska and legal aid have been incredible in that work. And the Commission on Human Rights in the city of Lincoln has kind of led that effort of having staff in the eviction court and also reviewing the docket prior to eviction hearings to reach out to those individuals to say, hey, we've got a resource here that can pay your rent if you need it, and thereby stopping evictions. So that's the plan for ERA 2 in Lincoln and Lancaster County going forward after the end of this year. I seriously doubt that we'll be able to stretch those dollars through September of 2025, but it's going to be a much more targeted program than the ERA 1 program has been. And I think that's it for my presentation, John.
Okay, very good. Next, we'll hear from Jane from COPE.
Hello. Good to see everybody. Let's see here. Is that the way it's supposed to be?
Almost. Let's see if you do start.
There we go.
There you go.
That's better. Okay, so I'm Jane Gordon. I'm the program director for COPE, and our mission is to provide and connect resources for residents of Western Douglas County whose needs are temporarily beyond their means. So for the ERA program, we opened up in April of 2021 with 4.1 million. We had a reallocation in March of 3.227. And then as of right now, we have expended 74% of those funds. That's $4,598,000 in direct assistance and $410,000 in housing stability services. The last day we can spend ERA 1 is December 29th of 2022. You guys are going to hear me echo a lot of things that John and Jeff already said, so I'll try to go quickly through the parts that you've heard before. Okay, so yes, you have to be a renter. You have to live in Douglas County, outside the Omaha city limits. That's our jurisdiction. I do just want to highlight, like John said, you do need to have a financial hardship due to COVID-19 or directly or indirectly, but that can include increased costs. We get calls all the time asking, I don't have COVID, or I'm not unemployed, or that kind of thing. That is not necessary. If your food bills are higher, your energy bills are higher, the ratio between your income and your regular expenses are higher, that is COVID impact. So please go ahead and don't let that be an obstacle. Experience a risk of housing instability. Again, you do not need to be in an eviction court to be experiencing housing instability. A change in the amount of your income compared to the rent and expenses that you're paying can qualify as a form of housing instability. If it's hard to meet your obligations, then your situation has destabilized. And then you do have to be below 80% of the area median income. Okay, our covered costs are pretty close to the same, so I won't dwell on that much. We do cover some of those deposits, moving costs, reconnect fees. And then I suppose the best thing to highlight would be the housing stability. That is administered by the Douglas County Tenant Assistance Program, and it covers the legal assistance and case management by the Volunteer Lawyers Project, Legal Aid of Nebraska, Creighton University, Together, and Heartland Family Services. So they've been huge as far as just making sure those people who need extra help getting connected to the program get what they need. Required documents from the applicant, again, very similar. We do ask that you show ID if you have it. If you don't, again, don't let that be an obstacle. We'll work with you. Same basic outlines for proof of income-based program enrollment. That's all we need if you've got it. And then we can also cover you if you're living in a subsidized housing or mobile home community. That's considered, we assume, what is that called? There's a name for it. Lisa can remind me. Categorical eligibility, that's what it is. So yeah, so if you have categorical eligibility, that's all we need for your income proof there. And then we do still need current utility bills just so we can pay them. And the citizenship and legal residency, the COVID impact and housing instability are all simply verified by applicant attestation. You do not need additional documents for those things. The landlord, we do want a lease. All this is mostly the same. So let me just, again, what John said, I'm going to echo that. If you have a non-traditional rental situation, we are aware that some of the most vulnerable parts of our population have non-traditional rental situations. So don't let that stop you from applying. We're just going to work a little bit harder to establish that financial obligation. But our case managers will work with you to see if we can fund you. Okay, let's see. 12 months, yes, 3 months future. At this point, we have accepted only one reapplication. So we have served about 659, I think it is, or something like that, families. And we have approved them for all arrears plus 3 months forward, and then allowed a reapplication. Again, any arrears at that point and 3 months forward, but that has been the limit so far. Beginning in mid-July, we're going to open up the opportunity for a third round of approval, but we're going to add some additional housing stability support, because if you're coming back after that, then probably there's some underlying issues that we want to at least give you an opportunity to access other resources. This is the area we serve. Just thought, since outside of the Omaha city limits in Douglas County is sometimes confusing to people. This is Ralston we serve, and up there, and there's some neighborhoods in North Omaha, and any kind of rural areas, the SIDs, Valley, Waterloo, Bennington are the primary ones. Let's see. So looking ahead, Douglas County has applied for $8 million in ERA 2 funding, and that is the funding that Jeff mentioned that will last until 2025. 40% of those funds have already been received. From the applicant side, I do not think there's going to be a significant difference in the way that you apply. So we don't expect to see any kind of disruption coming towards the end of the year. It's going to be the only differences is that it has to be during COVID rather than because of COVID, but because of the way COVID impact is defined, that shouldn't be an obstacle to anyone. And we can cover 18 months instead of 15 months. So those are the big changes. But other than that, the application process will be pretty close to identical. And I just wanted to point out again that 88% of our funded applicants have been below that 50% AMI point. And ERA2 will be focused on providing those vulnerable community members with a longer term safety net. Some people have already received assistance, and we want to make sure that while we support them, we're also connecting them to some long-term stability. If you would need to apply, I just want to point out again that everybody's website here has the links to everybody else's website. So you kind of can't go wrong. But if you live in my little green map and you want to apply directly, you can go to my website, which is copeinfo.org. You can call us. We're a small staff, so we won't always get the phone, but we will call you back. Or you can email us at our help desk. And that's probably the best way to reach us, because then we don't have to play phone tag and we can answer specific questions. If you are in any way not sure whether or not you qualify, just reach out to us. We will either help you or direct you to someone who can. And that's all for me.
All right. Thanks, Jane. I'll kick it over to Lisa now.
All right. All right, am I coming through okay?
Yes, that's great.
All right, so I'm going to talk about the Omaha Match Emergency Rental Assistance Program. So we are serving tenants who are living in the city limits of Omaha. Match has developed partnerships with a handful of local nonprofits, United Way of the Midlands, Community Alliance, Together, Lutheran Family Services. We have Family Housing Advisory Services, who is helping us with our recertifications, so those requests for a second round of assistance only. And then we also are utilizing United Way 211 as our call center services. They are also covering applications that are submitted over the phone. So for our eligibility criteria, a lot the same. Big difference, tenants must reside in the city limits of Omaha. So Jane showed you her green map. We're basically everything else in Douglas County. So the city limits. Within the presentation here, I have linked a address verification that we had set up that has been helpful for folks who maybe are unsure, especially with the Douglas County and city of Omaha, those boundaries. Mostly because occasionally folks will have an Omaha address, like as their parcel address, but they may be outside the actual city limits. And so we have an address verification system that we set up. You just type in your address and it'll take you, it'll say you live in Omaha, apply for emergency rental assistance here, and it'll take you to Match's website. Or it may say you live in Ralston or Valley or unincorporated Douglas County, and it'll take you to Jane's program. So it's pretty slick. It also helps with that dividing line of Sarpy County, because we know that mostly in the city of Omaha limits, if you're on the north side of Harrison Street, you're Douglas County. If you're on the south side, you're Sarpy County, which then would require you to apply with John's program. And so it will actually direct you over to John's program too. So if you ever have questions about where to apply based on your address, you can use that link. Tenants have to be at or below 80% of area median income. Households at or below 50% are given preference. Same, have to have a negative financial impact on or after the federal emergency declaration in March of 2020. We do have a U.S. citizen or legal resident status requirement, must demonstrate a risk of housing instability or homelessness. So a lot of what you've already heard. Where are we now? The City of Omaha program officially ends 12/29 of 2022. unless Omaha receives additional ERA2 funding. And I will explain that on the next slide. We are accepting applications until sometime in the fall of 2022. The official cutoff date will be dependent upon where we're at funding wise and if we receive any additional reallocation funding. So we may extend the program or we may run out of money. It's really kind of all up in the air right now and dependent upon the US Treasury and whether or not or when they open up any applications to receive ERA2 reallocation. So this is where what we have accomplished in the city of Omaha. So we have already received kind of 3 buckets of funds. We received the original ERA1 through the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which was $22 million in our initial allocation. We exhausted all of that in the fall of 2021. We received ERA2 through the American Rescue Plan. That was $16 million. We exhausted all of that by December of 2021. So as of right now, Omaha has no ERA2 funding. So the funding that Jeff and Jane talked about that will carry on until September of 2025, Omaha has spent all of that. We did receive some ERA1 reallocation, which is what we are currently operating from here in 2022. We received initially $50 million that came from the state of Nebraska reallocation, and then another $11 million that the US Treasury reallocated to us from other areas of the country. That is what's currently funding our ERA program, and we must have all of those funds committed by December 29th of 2022. So as of right now, we have received $99 million in the city of Omaha total. This kind of gives some breakdown of our the data for our program. So ERA1, the average household cost was right about $5,000. You can see here the number of households that we serve for total, and then the breakdown of rent and utilities. ERA2, you see that total in front of you as well. Little bit less average per household. Again, we spent all of our ERA2, and now we're back to spending ERA1. We're calling it ERA 2022 just to kind of differentiate between the two. Again, the amount's going down a little bit, but we have served a ton of households since we reopened our application process in April. Almost, I mean, we're getting close to where we're going to surpass everything that we did in 2020 with our first round of ERA funding in 2021. We did take a pause. We had to close down applications in Omaha at the end of 2021 because, again, we had completely run out of money and we were waiting on additional funds to come through the Treasury of these ERA1 dollars. The one benefit to that is that pause allowed us the opportunity to really kind of revamp our process and streamline our applications, allowed us to implement some of the categorical eligibility that Jane talked about. We also have 9 zip codes in the city of Omaha now that we are using fact-based proxy on. So if you reside in one of those 9 zip codes, you automatically are income eligible based on US Census data. And so you do not have to submit any income data to us. And basically just really trying to make the process faster, more efficient, so that we can get help to folks in a much more streamlined way. As of today, we have approximately $36 million in ERA1 funding remaining. Again, expiration date is December 29th of 2022. So what do we cover? It's about the same as everybody else. We will cover past due and future rent, can't exceed 12 months of arrears or 15 months of total assistance. We help with utilities with or without rental assistance. So as long as it's not included in rent. So you do not have to receive rental assistance from us in order to receive utility assistance. We cover electric, gas, water, sewer. What's not included is phone cable, and we did end our internet program in 2021. So at this time, the city of Omaha is not covering internet. Other assistance, we are about to be implementing some of the relocation assistance that John and others also talked about. We also partner with the Tenant Assistance Program and Legal Aid in Nebraska and provide some assistance to eviction court. And then for those, and I forgot to put this on the slide, but for those folks who are coming back for a second round of assistance, we also have a resource assessment that they complete that we provide resources back to them. And then we can also help connect them if they are interested with case management that can help them navigate those resources and kind of provide a warm handoff to different agencies. How do I apply? Our website is on here. Same as everybody else. If you end up on our website and it's not the right one, we'll direct you to John's or Jeff's or Jane's. I need a J name. I've just realized I'm on with John, Jeff, and Jane. We have a checklist on there, and you just confirm that you meet the eligibility criteria and click apply here. If you have difficulty navigating the technology, you can call 211 and request assistance applying for the emergency rental assistance program. 211 has a dedicated department through their call services that is strictly for the emergency rental assistance program. They will work with you on getting the documentation that is necessary to upload into your application electronically. And if you are unable to do that yourself, you can also drop off any supporting documentation at one of the 12 Omaha public libraries. We have drop boxes there. So we have folks that maybe they aren't sure how to upload things, or they don't have a computer at home. And so they will submit their documents, and we go around twice a week and we pick them up from those lock boxes. We will also notify the landlord of the application, because the landlord has to submit supporting documentation as well, including a lease, a rental ledger, etc. We do direct pay to tenants. It is allowable if the landlord either refuses to participate in the program or is non-responsive to our attempts to obtain supporting documentation. As John stated, and I want to stress, we absolutely would prefer for landlords to work with our program. We would much rather send the check directly to you versus the tenant. So highly encourage landlords to participate in the program. This just some resources for folks for our program. Of course, our website is right up there at the top again. We have the property owner landlord application, a link there for them to start an application on behalf of their tenant, but it will require tenant authorization. We have application guides in English, Spanish, and Korean. We also have FAQs in those same languages, and then we have instructional videos in both English and Spanish. And that is the end of my presentation.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Looking at some of the questions, there was a couple things I just wanted to mention that I forgot to mention, but for the balance of state, looks like we've spent about $21 million in rent, around 800,000 in utilities, and about 100,000 in other assistance. And then there was one thing I wanted to mention about landlords and tenants. So we've had landlords call and say, I had a tenant who already left, and they left me owing a whole, they left owing me money for arrears. How do I get that paid back? And unfortunately, if the tenant's gone and there's no way to get a hold of them, then the landlord, there's not any way for us to pay that landlord. But if the landlord still has a connection and we can somehow reach out to the tenant, we can work with the tenant and the landlord to apply for what's owed to that landlord, which would wipe out that arrears and then hopefully help them with a reference in the future. So the tenant's already out of the unit, but as long as the tenant's willing to participate and understands the value of paying that landlord off, we've done that before, and it seems to work pretty well. So even after the fact, we've had tenants who've applied and we've contacted landlords that I know they're not living there anymore, but if you apply, then we can get that $2,000 that they owe you if you can help give them a positive reference. And so anyway, doing some, oh, thanks, Lisa, for answering that question in the chat. I think that was just something I wanted to mention, kind of lessons learned during this time period, trying to help people. Like we said, there have been some questions in chat, and this is the time now to ask. Someone asked about the email that NYFA created for balance of state referrals when you need help getting something uploaded. That's era@nyfa.org. Joe put that in the chat. And then I'm glad to hear people are interested in the toolkit. We're actually finalizing that, I think, this afternoon. For now, you can email me, and I put that in the chat, John, john.turner@nyfa.org. That way I know to include you when we send that out. I think we'll have probably a way of reaching out to our marketing department to have access to that. Looking here to see any other questions. And I guess the question about reaching out to find out status, that is a big thing. People want to know where, what's happening with the application. What else do I need to do? And we do a lot of that here at NYFA. People reach out to us, and I would encourage you to continue to do that. I don't know, as far as Jane and Jeff, and I know Lisa, you're answering some questions. Is there anything you'd like to say about helping people find out what the status of their application is? Is that mostly coming from providers or tenants?
Yeah, John, I just above Lisa's, I put for Lincoln and Lancaster County, the email and the phone number for people to call if they want to check on their status as well. So that's the primary method to do that in Lincoln and Lancaster County.
Okay, sounds good. So Lancaster County's rental assist at lancaster.ne.gov, 402-441-4942. And then for Omaha, it's 211 or Omaha ERAP at endhomelessnesstoday.org. I'm not for sure if the chat comes through on the recording, so that's why I'm repeating some of this stuff.
Okay, I can put my information in the chat as well. But yeah, you can email us at help@copeinfo.org, or you can call us, which number you're not going to remember, 402-616-2330. Hopefully you can go back and look at it later on. It's on our website too.
Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, and obviously going to websites is very helpful. Those of you that like to keep track of websites and dashboards, I forgot to mention also that the state does have a dashboard that will show you what the ERA disbursements are. The public facing dashboard right now is saying 21,459,000, and total number of awards is 9,827. I'm glad we talk about recertifications or people applying again. Obviously we can do that. The states, we've had that a lot, where we've had people apply for help and then they run into struggles again, and so they apply again and have to do the extension application. Usually that works out pretty well because a lot of the information's already been verified. You just have to re-verify your income for the balance of state. And like I said, we have that $20,000 cap for balance of state. But it's good to see other people are doing that. Any other questions or comments that haven't come in yet through chat? You can use a Q&A. And Joe, let me know if I'm missing anything. Lisa, I'm glad you articulated the amount of funding Omaha got. Anyone who's been in the human service industry prior to the pandemic, to compare the amount of funding difference that came through, it's just remarkable. We never saw these numbers before.
And it is, John, but there's another side of that, and we're all facing it very soon. All the people that have been getting rental assistance, needed rental assistance over the last couple of years, that's coming to an end to some degree. And it's going to be difficult, and our systems and our programs and certainly the people in housing crisis are going to have to somehow come to grips with that and adjust to a new reality where we don't have such tremendous amounts of dollars available to pay for rent. Because COVID or not, there's still going to be people out there that can't pay their rent. And that's not going to change just because the money dries up. The notion that people are getting this assistance because the money's there is completely wrong.
Yeah.
So that's something we need to face as a state and figure out how can we best continue to provide. We've learned lots of lessons over the last 2 years on how to provide rental assistance to people in need. We need to start applying those in a less resource rich environment to do the best we can with less resources.
Yeah, no, that is a great point. One of the things, one of the positive things about ERA is how it opened up collaboration really to even another degree. I mean, we already had great collaboration, but more agencies came together, and every Wednesday, all of the jurisdictions meet, and sometimes we even have the state budget office who will come in. Legal aid's part of this group, and we talk about, we learn together through this whole process, but that's really a opportunity for us to put our heads together and figure out what to do moving forward. Jeff and I are both governor appointed commissioners on the Nebraska Commission on Housing and Homelessness, which is brings together housing developers, finance agencies, and human service agencies. And that group is kind of overseeing the Nebraska Plan to End Homelessness. So that group is there that we can put our heads together, figure out what kind of letters need to be written, what kind of support needs to happen, what kind of data. I mean, there's tremendous amounts of data now that we're going to get from this, and obviously the first hurdle is going to be the balance of state at the end of September. But then the other jurisdictions are going to get hit with that cliff effect as well. Yep, thanks. Just kind of keeping up with the chat there. Well, any other thoughts? I think this is full of great information, and appreciate Jeff and Jane and Lisa for taking time for being here today. And all of us are going to hit the ground running as soon as this is over, and I'm sure we all have emails and calls waiting for us. Just looking at Joe making some notes here. Yeah, we will get this. This is recorded, so we'll get this uploaded to YouTube, and we will have. Yeah, that's a good point. So we did webinars often, almost every week for a couple of years. We are going to have another webinar, and it'll focus on the Nebraska Homeowner Assistance Fund, and we will finalize that. But it looks like that's going to be on July 20th at 10 a.m. and we'll have different staff presenting on that homeowner assistance fund, and another great resource for people out there. And then we have some other ideas of what we're going to highlight for upcoming webinars. I'm just double checking, triple checking chats to see if anything else is coming in. Doesn't look like it. So again, thank you all for being here today, and keep your eyes open for more webinar Wednesdays. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.